Let's get into the details now. Former Auditor General Daniel Domelovo and former UN Governance Advisor Professor Prof.Agyeman-Duah say President John Dramani Mahama must act swiftly to crack down on corruption and stop what they see as worrying attempts to remove Electoral Commission officials, warning that weak enforcement, delayed prosecutions and perceived protection of politically exposed persons have damaged public trust. On PM Express last night, they stressed that how the president responds at this critical time will be key to restoring confidence in governance and democratic accountability. Let's hear from Daniel Domelovo first.
My hope and expectation is that it should improve. Improve in the sense that at least we have gone almost a year into this new administration. Not ahead of scandals as it was in the past. So I'm not saying they are not happening, but I'm saying we have not heard of them. So that may drive people's perception. And if that is the case, and I will not be surprised that the index will be positive or show some improvement. I would have wished that the low-hanging fruits that I talked about, the president has taken those seriously. It will have brought about a serious improvement in the perception. That is, if we had passed a law by now to say that once we can establish beyond reasonable doubt that a public servant is owning or in possession of an asset which does not correspond with his or her earnings from the public service, until you can prove to us that there are other means of getting those assets, you are guilty of it, then I think people now know that, yes, there is seriousness in those things. Again, asset declaration law has been on the table before I became Auditor General. And it is still there. We have the, what they call COPOL, Conduct of Public Office Holders Bill, which addresses a lot of this corruption and corruption-related issues. They are still, so if we pass those laws and bring finality to trial of cases, we don't allow it to stand for too long.
Well, let's also hear from former United Nations Senior Governance Advisor Professor Prof.Agyeman-Duah on the independence of state institutions, particularly the Electoral Commission, which he described as central to democratic development.
Well, I pray not. I pray not, because the removal of the Chief Justice really shook the country's justice system. Of course, I'm aware of the argument in support of the removal, but the fact is that we can't have a stable governance when some key institutions of governance, the heads are changed at will, or because we don't like the way they behave. And the problem here is that when we are getting to elections and political parties promise to do ABCDs, especially threatening to remove such officials, and they can't be power, they do it, then if we are not careful, it becomes part of our political culture, where any new government will come and target a particular head of institution who, for some reasons, wasn't liked. So my hope is that now that we've done the Chief Justice removal and things are settling down, and I'm waiting to see if there will be any study that will confirm that, in fact, the public trust in the judiciary is going up because of the changes. If that is the case, I'll be happy. So we have to let these things settle down. Regarding the Electoral Commission, again, that was a promise the government made when it was competing for power. Again, of course, I've said many times the former President Akufo-Addo set a bad precedent for removing Charlotte from that position. And therefore, I think this government is also determined to do that. They said it many times. But my hope is that they should find a way of managing this without necessarily adding to this needless culture of removing heads of institutions. It's a matter of giving certain safeguards in terms of better regulations and training or whatever. I think that should be the way forward rather than removing them. For the OSP, I think the president has already requested those who wanted him removed to withdraw their petitions. And that, I think, was a very wise decision by the president. In the same way, I think this president can manage the other requests, other petitions in such a way that we can begin to have a sense of stability rather than a sense of retaliation or you do me, I do you kind of thing that we are bringing into our politics. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
Okay. Mr. Domelovo, I want us to look at Corruption Perception Index.
Well, government says that this year it is committing 500 million Ghana cedis into a revolving housing fund for teachers. And next year it will commit 1 billion Ghana cedis to the fund for a housing scheme in partnership with the Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT. Speaking at the 54th Annual NAT Delegates Conference at the UPSA here in Accra, President Mahama said that the government is actively exploring arrangements to make suitable lands available to support the housing project. All districts will provide land to help implement the initiative.
We also are looking to partner with the Ghana National Association of Teachers in the area of housing. And I remember the last time I met with the President, Uncle Kwame Pianim, and the team from NATS. I promised you that in the budget, we're going to make available a lump sum and coordinate with NATS, and I think you are accompanied by Republic Bank to start a housing scheme for teachers. And so this year, the Minister of Finance has put 500 million cedis in the budget. That money is going to be paid into a housing fund, a revolving fund. NAT will put some money in, Republic Bank will put some money in, and teachers would apply, and the houses will be built in the area that you want the house to be built. And if by coincidence the house is in your area of posting, then the money you would have paid as rent to some landlord will go to paying the cost of your own house, so that when you retire, you won't go to your grandfather's house and say, this was my grandmother's room, and go fighting with your relatives. And so we're going to work out the modalities of the housing fund. This year we're putting 500. Next year we're going to put 1 billion cedis in that housing fund. Ladies and gentlemen, it is appropriate for government to deepen its partnership with NAT further. And I'm pleased to inform you that government is actively exploring arrangements to make suitable lands available to assist the housing project that I just talked about. We're going to ask all the districts to provide land so that we can implement this housing project.
Moving on, the Asantehene Otumfuo Secretary II is expected to visit the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yonu, at the police headquarters today. Since assuming office, IGP Yonu has been instrumental in shaping the image and operations of the Ghana Police Service. Today's visit by the Asantehene is seen as symbolic, highlighting traditional authority support for institutional reforms within the sector. Now let's go over now to my colleague James Aveji, currently at the police headquarters here in Accra. James, what more are you picking up about the IGP's or Asantehene's visit?
For Mamiesi, thanks for your time. I want us to first start with establishing some presence here. Do a quick tour of what the background looks like. It looks like, as we have been told, this is going to be a very significant and historic event. If you come to the police headquarters here in Accra, there is a special parade ground that has been prepared so far, waiting for the IGP's arrival. If you see at the background, you see the demarcations of the parade ground, the high podium there. You see the seats there covered in cloth, which has been dedicated to the Otumfuo himself. Surrounding him will be the Inspector General of Police, as well as the Police Management Board. POMAD members would be surrounding the Inspector General of Police. And then you see other senior police officers. If you move to the far left, you also see some members of the traditional community, chiefs and queen mothers, as well as other members of the traditional authorities. Some, we are told, are coming from various traditional areas here in the Greater Accra region, as well as beyond the Greater Accra region. Then you see other senior police officers also seated at the far right. If you go down to the tent at the far end, right end, are police officers as well as other members of government, as well as other senior members of authority also around. Just a while ago, we had the guard of honor, which will form a special guard of honor for the Otumfuo, who he would be expecting, together with the IGP and the other special invited guests, come here to do a quick rehearsal at the background, and then they left. And so any moment from now, we'll be expecting the Otumfuo to touch down here at the police headquarters. What we have been picking so far is that in about 15 to 20 minutes, it will be a very snappy public event. So the event comes in two folds. We will first have the public event where the IGP, Mr. Tete Yohunu, will be giving a welcome address to the Otumfuo, and then the Otumfuo himself will give his official speech, where we would now know the exact reason for this particular visit. Beyond that, he would also be inspecting a guard of honor here. That will bring to an end the first part of the event, which is the public event. And then we are told that they will then proceed into a behind closed doors meeting between the Otumfuo, the IGP, and other retired IGPs of the Republic of Ghana. He will be meeting all of them, as well as the Police Management Board. Top on that agenda will be discussions about security issues across the country. We know that the current IGP's predecessor, Dr. Dampare, exactly a year, has paid a courtesy call to the Otumfuo in Kumasi in January 2024. Top on that agenda has been issues about security. It is the first time the Otumfuo himself is traveling down south to meet any Inspector General of Police in the history of the country. That's what we've been picking up so far. And so they will be discussing issues about security in that particular closed door meeting that will be happening in about hours after the public event has concluded. So that is what we are looking out for in the course of today, as this historic event is scheduled to happen. We know that the IGP himself has been on the grounds. The president renewed his mandate because he has some belief in the leadership he has brought to the Ghana Police Service. We've seen some level of arrest, police combat on criminal activities across the country. That has been the trademark of this particular IGP across the country. And so we just want to hope and believe that this Otumfuo's visit will be part of that endorsement of the kind of policing we have seen so far under IGP Christian Tete Yohunu in the past few months. Subsequently or later on, I'm sure the police themselves will be issuing some releases on what had happened in that closed-door meeting after this particular public event. And so, Maniesi, I can tell you and all our audiences that all is set here. If you go to the main entrance to the...
James Aveji there, coming to us from the police headquarters here in Accra. We'll be going back to him when the IGP lands, and as well as the Asantehene. Well, still to come. We will be heading to the bus terminals to find out how passengers stranded because of shortage of vehicles and commercial vehicles in the various bus terminals. We'll be right back. Well, we go back to the police headquarters. We understand James has more for us.
So I was trying to establish the fact that as we speak, there is, apart from what you see at the background here, there is heavy police presence here at the police headquarters in Accra. For those who know this terrain very well, if you are traveling all the way from the Akweje interchange to the frontage of the Ghana Fire Service, the traffic light there, you see police officers lined up on the stretch all the way to the entrance at the back of the criminal investigations department of the police headquarters, all in readiness. Police officers carrying arms, ready for the arrival of the Otumfuo. The ground is prepared. There is a guard of honor waiting, which the IGP as well as the Otumfuo will be inspecting. We'll take a speech from the IGP, and then we hear from the Otumfuo himself, after which they will go into a closed-door meeting to discuss issues of sensitive security matters that concern the safety of the country. And so those are the things we are expecting. Other traditional leaders from across the country are seated, and we are waiting for the arrival of His Majesty Otumfuo Osei-Tutu II of the Ashanti Kingdom here at the police headquarters on this historic visit to the IGP Christian Tete Yohunu Mamiesi.
All right, James, there at the police headquarters. Let's go to the bus terminals now and speak to my colleague Michelle Latte, who has been finding out why many passengers are stranded as a result of shortage of commercial vehicles. Michelle, what have you been picking up? What's causing the shortage? Michelle, unmute and speak to us.
Well, Mame, I'm currently at the Kanishi to Takrade and Cape Coast main station and the bus terminal, and there is a growing queue here. A lot of people are not able to get cars. We've spoken to the authorities here, and they say this is because most of the cars have been rented out to some schools to pick their students, also to transport them into the various schools. So that's the main issue they are facing here. So you see behind me, there's a large number of people who are waiting. A lot of them have even left the station because there's no hope of when a bus will arrive. The buses that are currently here, the leadership at the station tell us that most of them are undergoing maintenance, so they can't hit the road. And for the Sprinter buses that are available to them, because of the safety risk involved, most of them would prefer not to board those buses.
So, Michelle, how are the commuters managing the situation? Are they going to be there and wait for vehicles, or some of them are leaving to go home?
Currently, some of them have left. Even as I'm speaking to you, more people are leaving because they do not have any assurances of when exactly there will be a bus available for them. But for some of them have said that they've been here yesterday, they didn't get a bus, so they left. They've come back today, and still no hope of getting a bus. So just as I've mentioned, some of them are leaving, but some are also staying behind, just with the hope that there will be a bus available for them to board to go to their various destinations.
We'd love to hear from some of them, if you could interact with them so that we hear from them their own experiences.
Right, so I'm getting closer to one of the people here, and my gentleman is here right with me. So this is one of the commuters here. Hello, good morning. Good morning. You're live on JoyNews. Tell us how you're facing this situation and how you're dealing with it.
Okay. I'm coming from South. I came in like to, but we came here around 2 o'clock. Some of them here 2 o'clock. So we haven't get any car. That's why.
And we see some of them leaving. Why aren't you leaving?
Yeah, we asked them. Some of them are taking Sprinter and then STC, but we are waiting for the VIP.
Is there any reason for you to wait for the VIP? Why not go with French choice?
I also transported here is 80 Ghana, but others are 120, and then that's why we are here.
So, Mami, you heard from one of the commuters here. He's waiting patiently on when a bus will arrive here at the station for him to join. There are others, there are students also waiting on the buses to arrive. A lot of students in their units waiting patiently that when the final.
Sisala West District Chief Executive Abudu Hussein Igbini has assured communities playing host to refugees in the district of their safety. The Zini enclave alone hosts about 700 refugees who have fled neighboring Burkina Faso. Mr. Igbini asserts his office is monitoring the activities of the refugees in the fold. Rafik Salam reports.
The insecurity in Burkina Faso has resulted in the influx of asylum seekers from the country into the northern corridor of Ghana. One of the communities they sought refuge in is Zini, located in the Sisala West District that shares boundary with Burkina Faso. World Vision Ghana, under the border project, aim at building opportunities, resilience, infrastructure development, ecosystem, and social cohesion for refugees and host communities is supporting Zini and other communities that play host to these refugees. The overall objective of the border project is to promote the stabilization and prevention of violent conflicts, strengthen resilience, social cohesion across border communities. The Environmental, Social, and Climate Change Coordinator of World Vision Ghana, Abel Ensia, to shed light on the program.
And the one is to provide social infrastructure. And then social infrastructure, we are looking at providing wash infrastructure, also health infrastructure, also looking at providing irrigation infrastructure to help our farmers to also do all year round farming. And the next objective is to enhance social cohesion. So we are working with a local NGO, Raise Ghana, who is supporting us to implement this intervention. So they are looking at putting in community.
The Kennedy Ohene Japan campaign team has dismissed attempts to link the presidential hopeful to perceived failures of the previous NPP administration, describing the claims as unfounded. According to the team, Mr. Japan was not part of government and therefore represents a less risky option for the NPP as it prepares for the 2028 general elections. A member of his campaign team, Kwesi Nyantakyi, spoke on the AM show.
We are on the ground, and I respect him. Be that as it may. I believe that
the real work is on the ground.
Yes. I'm running from.
Yeah. What sets Kennedy apart from the rest?
Is his message. Apart from the likability for him as a person, he comes out as a non-conventional politician, very courageous, truthful, and honest. About 1.3 billion Ghanaian youth or young people are unemployed. Okay. To me, it is not a problem of the young people. This is a national security crisis for us to handle, because the attendant effect of unemployment, you can imagine what happens. A lot of people go into social vices, unintended things that will happen and affect the country. So the unemployment situation is very critical. And this is the man who has confronted unemployment headlong in his campaign.
DCE for Not Die, Ernest Adevo, says he is worried that numerous chieftaincy disputes in his jurisdiction raise security concerns and are retarding the development of the district. According to him, this has made it difficult to engage traditional rulers on the district's development agenda and seeks their collaboration. There's more on the following report.
The coronation ceremony of Togbe Boateng III exhibited the unique culture and customs of the chiefs and people of Chiome traditional area. Togbe Boateng, known in private life as Afar Evans Apreku, is an educationist and currently the headmaster of the Kpango Senior High School. He ascended to the throne, which was vacant for about 3 decades, with diverse knowledge of community development. Togbe Boateng promised to bring his expertise to bear as he leads the Chiome Sabadu community.
Abesa menya ben fiala menyo. Ma atoka kule nya be fiaga. Mi akpara mu ka tutu mi atenwo. Akobe mi ape school nya o yin gobe. Enjoy. Evelia ya nyebe ebesa me neto wa bi melula agbeme yeji mi o. Ta fi awo mi apeta ko ra be ka tutu mi atenwo. At least amesiame akonane agu afisa nato.
Ai, mekare pasije amenwe toji. Bele mo pobe awo de ka kuri fi abu wo. Andrenian mmechi na gbe ya ka enyemele ni zo kaba. Ameni yo je ni wo. Ndeni
The North Dine District Chief Executive, Ernest Adevo, warned against the consequences of chieftaincy conflicts.
Maten a rengoido a varutuomo da ejebe tiku he dura video li be efia yawe sipito yawe ni denu mi oda nu yele heve nyebe mmele nu le da gbaleji o
Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Chiome Sabadu.
You're still watching JoyNews Desk. We'll be back after this break.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's time for business. I am Michelle Ojokum. And now to our stories. Now, the International Monetary Fund says operations at the Cocoa Board have seen a significant turnaround, placing the board in a stronger position to meet its debt obligations. There's more in the following report.
The IMF, in its staff report, maintained that the development is even influencing the cocoa sector in terms of production. Now, this is because these payments that Cocoa Board is making to the various players in the sector is helping to improve the fortunes of the cocoa farmers. It also stated in its staff report that due to this development, cocoa production for the 2025-2026 crop season will be a marked improvement over that of 2024 and 2025. The significant turnaround of the sector could also impact positively on the finances of government and even the Bank of Ghana. It could also help Cocoa Board in securing fresh funding from the international market at a very competitive interest rate. Some market analysts have argued that a turnaround of the cocoa sector could also mark a sharp improvement or impact on the entire economy of Ghana.
Away from that, the Bank of Ghana ended 2025 with international reserves reaching a record of $13.8 billion. Now, Joy Business has learned this from sources with knowledge of the country's reserve position. There's more details in the following report.
Sources say the Bank of Ghana could have ended 2025 with a higher international reserves of $14.2 billion if it had not been the recent Eurobond payment made in December last year. We understand that government revenue numbers picked up strongly in the last quarter of 2025, resulting in the Ministry of Finance moving to make this $709 million Eurobond payment in December ahead of schedule. The development resulted in the reduction in Bank of Ghana's international reserves to $13.8 billion ending December 2025. We are also learning that the Gold Board made some payments to the Bank of Ghana, another development that impacted on these strong reserves. This should mean that for the year 2025, the Bank of Ghana added $5 billion to its reserves, a development that can be described as record. The strong growth in Bank of Ghana's international reserves has been influenced by the strong reserve accumulation program as well as Bank of Ghana sticking to its domestic gold purchase program. For some, this record reserve buildup could go a long way to firmly stabilize the Ghana cedi even for this year. Now, this is because it could put the Bank of Ghana in a strong position to support the Ghana cedi for the first quarter of this year. The local currency usually comes under some pressure in the first quarter of every year. The development could also go a long way to check dollar demand because it could assure the market that the Bank of Ghana is in a strong position to support the Ghana cedi. It could also go a long way to impact on Ghana's credit ratings in the coming months.
And that's all for business right here on JoyNews Desk. There's more business news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. And of course, here's some of our stories. So BOG, that's Bank of Ghana, ends 2025 with international reserves hitting a record of $13.8 billion. Now that's it, so you get on there and read more. I am Michelle Ejekum. There's more news coming up next. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Now, Sisala West District Chief Executive Abudu Hussein Ibini has assured communities playing host to refugees in the districts of their safety. There's more in the following report.
The insecurity in Burkina Faso has resulted in the influx of asylum seekers from the country into the northern corridor of Ghana. One of the communities they sought refuge in is Zini, located in the Sisala West District that shares boundary with Burkina Faso. World Vision Ghana, under the border project, aim at building opportunities, resilience, infrastructure development, ecosystem, and social cohesion for refugees and those communities is supporting Zini and other communities that play host to these refugees. The overall objective of the border project is to promote the stabilization and prevention of violent conflicts, strengthen resilience, social cohesion across border communities. The Environmental, Social, and Climate Change Coordinator of World Vision Ghana, Abel Ensia, to shed light on the program.
And the one is to provide social infrastructure. And in social infrastructure, we are looking at providing wash infrastructure, also health infrastructure, also looking at providing irrigation infrastructure to help our farmers to also do all year round farming.
In addition, a community resource management area, CREMA, will be established in partnership with the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission, the Sisala West District Assembly, and other stakeholders. Park Manager of Billy Resource Reserve, Dr. Polika Budafe Mabir, spoke of the benefits that people will derive from the formation of the CREMA.
It will depend on you as an individual, how you want to benefit from the CREMA. Either you want the non-timber forest products to develop, the shea butter processing aspect, you want to deal with ecotourism, you identify the product and what. So if you come to our end, the shea butter is being flagged, organic shea butter, you go to Wichao, is there, you go to Mole, is there, and they pay premium prices for that.
Sisala West District Chief Executive Abudu Hussein Ibini was commending World Vision Ghana and their partners for their support, assure the people of working to ensure the safety of the host communities and the refugees.
Intelligence and then tightening our borders to ensure that we closely monitor the people that we are currently hosting, whilst the border system will also ensure that we do not have other people coming in when we cannot guarantee our safety.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam, Bolu.
Now, 7 value chain actors of rubber production in Ghana have dissociated themselves from the Association of Natural Rubber Actors of Ghana, accusing the group of persistent misleading and deceptive conduct. They say ANRAC falsely presents itself as a broad-based industry body but does not represent all stakeholders in the rubber value chain. That's more of the following report.
Among the groups distancing themselves from the Association of Natural Rubber Actors of Ghana, ANRAG, are the Rubber Farmers Association of Ghana, the Western Rubber Farmers Association, the Rubber Cap Lumps Traders and Aggregators Association, the Rubber Nursery Operators Association of Ghana, the Ghana Tree Crop Exporters Association, and the Ghana Tree Crops Freight Forwarders Association. Patrick Awatri is an executive member of the Rubber Farmers Association of Ghana, RUFAG.
This action has become necessary due to the persistent misleading, mischievous and deceptive conduct of ANRAG, which continues to undermine the collective interests of genuine stakeholders in the natural rubber industry. Contrary to its claims, ANRAG does not represent all natural rubber actors in Ghana. The association is purely run and managed by rubber processors, dryers, and consistently promotes policies and positions that serve the interests of the single or limited group of processors, dryers, to the clear disadvantage of other actors, being farmers, traders, aggregators, nursery operators, exporters, and others across the value chain.
The Rubber Cap Lump Traders and Aggregators Association of Ghana is accusing the rubber producers and drivers of not adding value to the raw rubber lumps they export, but are seeking to prevent others from doing same. Solomon Donko is the General Secretary of the association.
Drying the rubber. They are not producing anything tangible in Ghana ever since Ghana Rubber Estate came into being. For over 30 years, they haven't produced even a glove or condom or anything that we can say this is actual production that will benefit the country. So they are virtually doing the same thing that exporters are doing. So I don't see the reason why they should be calling for a ban on raw export.
Receiving their statement, Deputy CEO in charge of operations at the Tree Crops Development Authority, Rich Kofi Tu, assured rubber farmers and the other stakeholders that their petition will be reviewed and government duly advised.
For us at Tree Crop Development Authority, as we always state, we are in for the interest of all actors within our value chain, i.e. our farmers, i.e. our aggregators, our traders, our processors and exporters. We are all in for the interest of every actor that we deal with. So we will study the content of this document. Already we've been having a number of extensive stakeholder engagements throughout last year, and it's not going to be different this year. We'll study this document and see what we can do to advise the various ministries and advise government on the best way to go in terms of issues that are happening currently within the rubber sector.
The associations have warned that failure to involve all stakeholders in decision-making could undermine the livelihoods of millions of Ghanaians who depend on the rubber industry, and are calling for immediate action to ensure transparency, fairness, and broad participation in decision-making. For Joy News, Derek Nemaku's report read to you.
Well, that's all we have for you on JoyNews Desk. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. In the top story, my daughter asked if I was a thief. Person Yantechi says number 12 expose caused irreparable damage. I'll see you again tomorrow.